because everybody knows you and is so inspired by you and the work that you've done, and obviously just a glimpse of the expertise and insights you could share in this panel is something that people are eager to hear more of. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce the 2011 Nobel Peace Prize winner, Leymah Gbowee.
Proudest line of introduction is that I'm a mother of 6. That I have a 2.5-year-old that we just stepped off the flight this morning from Accra, 11 hours, that I'm looking so pretty. I did not prepare a speech because I'm still struggling to do a great speech for Vassar at their commencement on Sunday, which is a tough call. Talking to young people is the toughest one. My life work began out of rage. I was just sharing with David and some of the other colleagues before the panel that we all have animal tendencies. We get angry, and the expression of our anger is what labels us as villains or heroes. Dr. King was angry at the treatment of the black people, and he decided to do something positive. Some of the people sitting at Rikers Island for life imprisonment got angry over a particular situation, and the way they expressed their anger has put them in prison for life. My anger began at the age of 17 when I was uprooted from my home as a result of the civil war in Liberia. For many months and many years, I carried that anger. And not only was it directed at myself and those around me, it was directed at God. I did not want to pray. My sister, who's now 30, used to sing a song that she learned. Apparently that was her way of dealing with the trauma. She was 10. My Lord, he died for his kingdom. And every morning, and then I'll say to her, if you don't shut up, you won't eat. Where is your Lord? I have to go and walk for 7 hours to bring food. And after I fed you, you sit here and say, my Lord, he died for his kingdom. Tomorrow, your Lord will go and find food. And she'll be like, I'm sure in her little mind, what has Daddy called my sister? And that anger led me to making series of mistakes. Mistakes that I will live with the consequences today and continue to live with. But that anger also led me to just being angry with some of the little boys in my community who were my cousins, who only pastime was sex. They would call these little girls and they would just have sex. And then I targeted 5 and started working with them. And a friend who's deceased now said to me, but you need to go to some free school they're having for, so that's the beginning of the story. And then I ended up right in the presence of child soldiers who I hated so much. And the first day I went to work with them, they showed me, they hated me too because they abused me for 1 hour. And I just stood there. I couldn't move because God has a sense of humor. I needed them. The job I had, in order to go to college, I had to be working. And that was the only job I could find. So I couldn't quit because I needed to go to school. I had 4 children that my education depended on them, or being educated meant a better life for them. So the first day, 1 hour of abuse. The next day, 59 minutes. The following day, 58. And by the time we got to 30 minutes, they asked me, won't you go away? And I kept saying to myself, I wish I could go away, but I'm stuck with you all. After a year, I found out that these young people I hated so much were also victims of circumstances. Stories of them being left back. Parents like myself, 6 children, shooting breaks out, and they run and take the youngest one 5 left behind. At the age of 8, they're porters for fighters. Or 7, by 8, they're taking drugs and they've been taught how to shoot an AK-47. They've been asked to rape an old woman in the village. And then somewhere in between the fighting, they lost a limb or something, and these young men were miserable. And as I worked with these boys, I began to work with their wives. And somehow in secret, we were able to send some of those girls back to their parents. My journey took me to women from Sierra Leone, Davis country. Women who had their breasts cut off, their arms cut off, their different parts of their bodies. But women who are walking into the room and never saw a frown on their faces. Those were the ones who transformed me, who helped me to transform that negative anger, because I was still carrying that anger around. And one of them asked me, were you raped? The answer was no. Did someone cut off a body part? No. So why are you a hypocrite? I went back home and that night I thought, I'm a hypocrite, I'm a hypocrite, I'm a hypocrite. But then I also had a new sense of purpose. We have to change this situation. In a few years, we started something called the Women of Liberia Mass Action for Peace, a campaign that was driven from within. And after we ended the Civil War, I've been moving from one part of Africa to the other, from Congo DRC to Nigeria to Cote d'Ivoire, to different places, Ethiopia, working with Sudanese women. And as I journey, I realized that, like we said on the panel, the answers to a lot of the problems we have is within each and every one of us. It's within. In Congo today, if you read the newspaper, the first thing you say, Congolese woman, the first thing that comes to people's mind is rape. When I went to Congo and asked those women, if you were prioritizing your needs and concerns, what would be the first thing on the list? And in my head, I could just hear myself screaming, rape, rape, rape. And they said political participation, followed by economic empowerment, implementation of laws. Say rape and abuse that you see in Congo is the result of a greater problem. It is not a problem. I tell people this is a reflective period for me. And that's the reason why I can step off a plane as tired as I am, want to come into a gathering of like minds, because this is not time to celebrate. If you walk down in the Bronx, you see problems. If you go to Brooklyn, you see problems. If you go to Philadelphia, it's there. And then you take a step out into Africa, you have the problem of maternal mortality, teenage pregnancy, all of these problems. So what is there to celebrate? Something women have been recognized. I say the Nobel of 2011 is a recognition of the roles of women in time past. Women who burned their bras in this country. Women who fought in the struggle for independence in Africa. Women who were giving water and helping the soldiers during the war in this country and other parts of the world, in Europe and other parts of the world. 3 women was a recognition that, globally we've come to understand that you all have done something great. Now is the time for me to work. And working for me is not just sitting behind my desk, like we said, and enjoying the pleasures. Over the last few months, I've been traveling from place to place in Liberia. And everywhere I go, I say to myself, or say to those inviting me, I must meet the young people. Stories of hopelessness. I finished college. I don't have a job. I finished high school. I have no means of going to college. One after the other, all 100 of them, you could sum up their story in one. The greatest threat to security in West Africa, in Liberia, in Africa, unemployed youth. One after the other. Went to another area, and I had maybe 25 of them who admired me, and they all told the same story, one after the other. This journey is a journey that I sometimes it's not always glamorous. It's not always New Yorkish. Sometimes it's vicious, especially when you've come under the spotlight as a Nobel laureate. Archbishop Tutu told me a few months ago, my granddaughter, that's the favorite way I love for him to call me, say, you are a laureate. Whatever you say now becomes an instant quote. Be careful what you say. And I'm learning that the hard way. A few weeks ago, a few months ago, I celebrated my 40th birthday, so I'm not as young as I look. And we launched the Nobel Peace Foundation Africa. The idea was to use some of the inspiration from my own life to empower young women. And we started giving scholarships to 7 girls. We've decided as a foundation, we're not looking for numbers. We're not looking for quantity. We're looking for quality and impact. So we gave full 4 years to a girl. You go straight through to college. 4 had babies. All under 20, 34 had between 1 to 3 children. 3 were pregnant. Only 1 in that entire village with an inhabitant of 500 people have made it to 4th grade at the age of 15. So we've gone back to the family and said to them, there's a nearby boarding school. We'll take your daughter and we'll give her full 8 years scholarship. And someone will say, well, 8 years, that's a lot of money. You could educate 100 girls. But in 8 years, that village will have 1 girl who becomes the symbol of hope for other girls. We went to another village, and there is this 12-year-old who's in the 7th grade, lives with her grandmother who's about to die. And we asked her what was her biggest fear. And this child says her biggest fear is her English teacher. His advances. He had already impregnated a young girl in her class. So we also went to that grandmother and said, we'll give your daughter 5 years scholarship. In a village of almost 1,000 people, for the last 3 years, this is the first time 1 girl is graduating from high school. We have given her the option of a full 4 years scholarship to go to college. When babies have babies, there is no value on the other life because they don't understand the value of their own lives. What is there to celebrate? From community to communities, you hear stories of women who are praying for their daughters to finish school without having babies. From community to community, you hear stories of young men who have no dreams but to become fighters. At the slightest sound of a gunfire, they are ready to be enlisted. What is there to celebrate? Most often, when people say, come and share your journey and the Nobel Prize, this is a great platform. But this is a great platform for all of us. And the purpose of my being here today, as tired as I am, is to send a message that I am a part of this community. And whatever that title that we all hold, because I see this as all of us thing, whatever that title can do to change one life, I'm prepared to put my own personal fatigue aside and move on with it. Many of us in this room have started foundations, orphanages. All of us are fighting to create a change in a world that I describe as crooked. We're all fighting to straighten it up. Rash there, Waxing Granji there in Liberia, with fantastic women who all have their history of violence. Magdala is here trying to educate young people. Mutombo has his hospital. Every one of us, David is trying to inspire young people to try to think big, because Africa is the next big thing, whether we like it or not. We all are fighting to do our little bit. The Segal family, Barry should be, he and Dolly should be in the Bahamas, vacationing, enjoying their lives. But if we've all seen the great need, and none of us, because this is the room of the converted, can continue to emphasize the need even more. And then you say to me, Leymah, but you say what is there to celebrate? I tell you one thing. For every little action or every little assistance that you give, you change a life. You may not see it in your lifetime, but you change a life. Several years ago, I met a young girl, mother of 4, teen mother of 4, and she had no self-esteem. She came to our training room and just sat there, like she's sitting. And so every time we tried to draw her out, we crossed her out, because we're looking for the next generation women's leaders in different communities. So when we went through all of our papers, we decided, this one, no. And then we asked them to do different community projects. This young lady took that thing with a team of 6 other girls. When they presented their project, and then we decided to fund the project, and I said, personally, I will go to their community to do hands-on helping. There are 5 schools in one district, and none of those schools had a reading room. These 7 girls had decided they would develop a reading room for all 5 schools, and they will volunteer their time every Saturday to teach little girls how to read. I got to that community that morning, expecting that I would come because I'm the take charge madam and be saying, do this, do this. I got there and I was offered a seat. I sat down and I just saw this girl. John, do this. Paul, do that. You, hang curtains, this, that, 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 that. I had seen something that I didn't see in that training room. We got there by 8 by 2. The training room was set up, the reading room. Books were marked because they had been marking those books the night before. And then she said to me, it's lunchtime. I don't see anyone cooking. And then I just see this crew of young ladies coming to serve food. Everyone sitting on a mat, eating. She graduated from high school and started a small-scale business to educate teen mothers in her village, even though she could not find scholarship to go to school. She's one of those that we've given full 4 years to go to agricultural college. She did not even know that we had crossed her out. What she took from there, she carries today, and she's recognized in that community as a leader. you may not see where, or you may think, what the hell, darling, are we doing? We just need to go and sit down. Trust me, one of these Segal girls or boys or grandchildren will write someday that I encountered this person, and this person told me, because of your grandparents, I am who I am. I see it every day. I get emails every day from little girls who said, I never really felt I could make it through college, but because of that interaction in our village, today I'm a graduating senior. And I try to whack my head left and right. What is there to celebrate? Not much, but there's hope. So don't think that it's so hard and it's so difficult and this foundation thing, because trust me, if you go into the corporate world, you make a lot of money. So my next life, I'm going there. If you come into the humanitarian world and you do humanitarian work the way we do it, where there's no borders, our homes is our offices, our personal bank account is our operational funds, our children have to endure 20 African women sleeping on the floor because they came for a conference in the city and there's no hotel pay and bills. So you bring them home and they will not think that you're just accommodating them. They take over the whole house and tell the children, cut that TV off, I want to watch the news, and take that thing from there. And for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, these children are as miserable. You know, some of us do those kinds of things. And you say to yourself, I'm not seeing changes. And it's not working. But trust me, you will feel or see one day. All is not lost. I continue to maintain, it's not time for me to celebrate the Nobel. Those who watched the celebration from Oslo, they didn't see me do an African dance. You know, I went up there and I spoke. The Liberians would say I spoke book. Dressed well with a big headgear. But I spoke reflectively. 20 years from now, we will ask the Nobel Committee to lend us that city hall. And we will bring those girls that we've accompanied over the last 20 years and say, this is the time to play that African beat. This is the time to celebrate. You may be on a journey that doesn't make sense at all. You may think you do, what the hell? I'm a doctor and I'm in Grand Jita. I'm a fashion model, I'm going back to the village to do something. Trust me, that time of reward is coming soon. So for all of us doing the same kind of work, why can I come to tell you, do this, do that, you're already doing? Don't give up. There will always be the corrupt governments, Mutombo. There will always be the staff that thinks that the white people is more valuable than you are. There will always be some black people who think that white people are just here to exploit. I have been bearing my own crosses since I moved back to Liberia with the Nobel Prize. When the parents of the little girl in that village agreed for us to give her the 8-year scholarship and send her to boarding school. The receptionist in my office, who came from a village also, 4 years ago, because we had gone and inspired her in that village, she's the first girl from her family going to university, and we put her on a personal scholarship and she's been working for me since, said to me, because I had determined, you know how when you're depressed, you have your life laid out. I'm depressed. So every day I have a new plan. I'm moving to the US and I will teach. No, I'm going to London and I will I think I will take on a ambassadorial thing from the UN. No, I think I want to go and work for this other group. So this day, I think she was just tired hearing me with no plans and said, Miss Bowie, the parents of so-and-so girl came and they've agreed for us to send her to school. If you leave, who will find them from those villages and send them to school? My question to you, if you give up in whatever you're doing, contributing your tiny bit to change the world, who will do that unique work that you are doing to bring the change that this world needs? Thank you.